We're here 8:30 Wednesday morning with the agriculture section in the first of what we're calling our coffee talks with the MSBA. And the purpose of these chats is really just to give each section an opportunity to get together in a more informal setting. We've been putting together a lot of really good content and webinars for our members and for the public, but we wanted to have this opportunity to speak directly with section members, give updates about what the MSBA has been doing, and then talk to members about what's been going on since the emergency started. What are your concerns? What are your questions for us? Any ideas? And just to have a coffee talk, and we hope to keep this going over the coming weeks, and just wanted to start off today. We have several MSBA staff, as Vic mentioned, that are on this call, including members of the membership team, our publications department, and some of the directors. So I'll turn it over to Vic now just to get us started. And as people join, Doris, if you can just keep letting them in. Thanks.
Very good. Thanks, Shaoli. And thanks, guys, for having this intimate coffee talk. You know, in the last 3 weeks, we've had in excess of 1,000 attorneys participate in video sessions, be they information sessions. Just yesterday, we had 55 folks at Frederick County participate in a session. We had on Monday a session of 40 to 50 folks. I think one of our webinars that we put on had 274 folks that participated, attorneys participating. So well in excess of 1,000 attorneys have participated on one of these types of forums that we've held in the last few weeks. At a 10 million foot level, we had a successful effort that took a lot of energy and a lot of effort, and hundreds of attorneys get involved to successfully push back the risk of taxation of legal services. And within a matter of, it seems like minutes after that had been completed, we get the COVID situation, and we pivot to responding to that. You're going to hear from the team about a lot of what I'm going to just share up front in more detail, but we've been helping in multiple fronts. First, the one that's probably most notable is we continue to serve as the conduit for the entire profession to serve up questions and suggestions for the judiciary. I think we're up to 150 questions or so. We just sent the last batch yesterday, last night, to the judiciary. So Chief Judge Morrissey, the chair of the circuit court judges, Judge Laura Ripken, Pam Harris, Kelly O'Connor, and they have been very responsive. In the first few batches, they literally got on the phone and verbally walked us through the responses to those questions. And most recently, they've begun to provide us drafted responses, which we then turn around and deliver to our various stakeholders. So we're doing that on the judicial branch. We're also doing that on the executive branch. We've had interactions with the Office of Legal Counsel and the Governor's Office, and you'll hear more about that as it's relevant. Sharing questions. I mentioned a webinar. We've done a multitude of webinars. Andrea Terry can speak to that in more detail. We've got more planned. In fact, for the 2 or 3 of you that joined this little coffee talk this morning, I will share that the MSBA is going to be shifting towards, at least through the end of this fiscal year for us, June 30th, is making our catalog of over 100 plus on-demand CLEs at no cost to everyone who belongs to our organization and beyond. So we're going to make it available to the entirety of the profession. Our bar journal will be delivered to digitally to all attorneys in the state of Maryland that have an email address that we can get to. We have a pretty comprehensive COVID page that if you go there, you're going to see resources, not just court orders, but a lot of resources for running a practice, for being remote, for thinking about risk, thinking about what tools are available to you. Lending, the PPP program. I think we've got one of those coming up, or just did one, and we're going to do another one next week. So it has been, in the last 3 weeks, which feels like 3 years, it's been a tremendous amount of activity. I'm not doing it justice. You should know that the team that's on this on behalf of Team MSBA and those that are not here have been working extremely hard on your behalf to try to provide you information. to try to be responsive. At a big picture level, I think we are probably able to deliver more information, more content than just about any other organization. And we're trying to work collaboratively with all organizations that are part of the legal profession here in Maryland. So super high level, but the team is going to go into more detail. Any thoughts, comments, or questions for me before I put myself on mute and let the fun happen? All right. Very good. Shaoli, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thanks, Vic, for that intro. And now if I could turn to Andrea Terry, if you'd like to just give us an update of where we are with our webinars and virtual learning. Thanks.
Sure. Thanks, Shaoli. As Vic said, we started in March doing webinars with the sections in response to the challenges that they were seeing develop in their practice areas. So we started in March with the solo and small firm. We did 2 webinars that were focused on tools to work remotely that could maintain confidentiality and security for lawyers that were just moving home and starting to do their practices and care for clients remotely. And we also touched on, with the solo section second presentation in March, the CARES Act and the Families First Coronavirus Response Act. And I think that was the first presentation that was had really for Maryland lawyers the last week in March on that. Last week we had 3 actually 4. Solo and small firm went again, as did labor and employment law, estates and trust and elder law. ADR had an open town hall. And as Vic mentioned, most of those were attended by 250 plus attorneys. And so we've been getting a lot of content out there, and it's been very well received. We've had some requests for follow-up. So today we have one on the PPP, as Vic mentioned, at 1 o'clock. And that crew is also that's with the tax section. And that crew's also agreed to do a follow-up on the 14th. So next Tuesday, they'll do a follow-up with some more detail, because apparently some more benefits come available as part of that package, the stimulus, on Friday. So we'll be doing an intro to what is going to be coming on Friday. And then Tuesday, they'll do a follow-up with some more details. So we welcome the section's participation, and anything that you think your practice area might be facing in this really challenging practice environment. We're open to helping you coordinate that and have all the staff to support the logistics of delivering that.
Thanks, Andrea. And we received a question asking if this content is open to all, and it is free. We're providing this service to the legal profession, whether or not you're a member of MSBA or not, because it is very important and timely information. You can register for this through our COVID page on the webinars link. We've also been sending out e-weeklies, as Vic mentioned, and learning at home emails, so you can click through and also register there. And as soon as we have the content recorded, it'll immediately be posted and available online as well. We do prefer that people register ahead of time. Just it helps us to keep track of who's attending, and just to provide any follow-up information for people that are joining. Thanks, Andrea. I think we have Reena Shah on the call as well. Reena is head of our Access to Justice Commission, our partner entity working with civil legal aid organizations. Reena, could I ask you to give us an update?
Sure. Thanks, Shaoli. And sorry, everyone, I can't join by a video. Had a mishap on my face, so it's looking not presentable this morning, but happy to join you all. And what I wanted to fill you in on was that the Access to Justice Commission, one, the reason it exists is for us to unite leaders so that we can effectuate change in the civil justice system. There's a lot of barriers in the civil justice system. A lot of the people going to court are self-represented litigants, and there's a challenge for those litigants to navigate that system, understand their laws, understand their rights, and go through it. And so a lot of the work that we were doing pre-COVID really had to do with education, awareness raising, and really getting into the nitty-gritty of how can we have more legal representation, how can we have more legal information for self-represented litigants, and then also thinking about how do we increase funding for civil legal aid community. Since COVID, the community has transitioned to a remote environment rather quickly, even though they didn't have all of the things in place, being cloud based or even having enough computers for their staff at home to be able to do remote services. But what has happened is that they have worked really quickly to figure those things out, and the commission has really been bringing the community together, because there are so many new challenges that all of these organizations are facing, and in fact also all of the with the changes in the court, procedures, closures, new laws coming into effect, expansion of rights. So we've been bringing the community together through convenings that include civil legal aid, staff, and also separate ones for leadership. And then also working on having specific, essentially a disaster response structure, getting that into place. So thinking about all the different needs that will be not only exist now, but will be coming out. A big part of that is communications. And so having all the information in one place, we have, like the MSBA, created a COVID centralized web center that's part of our website, and it started with a page, but of course it has expanded much more, and that houses all the information that is public facing for anyone looking for, it's either here are the things with court closures, or here's the information, the latest information on if you're a domestic violence victim, what does the court order now say, and what can and cannot you do, and where can you reach out for help. So we're trying to centralize all of that information and have it available in one place. We are also priming for a public information outreach campaign through social media, so that we can get all of this information out to the people who can then get it down, the people who are affected. Of course, there's challenges with the population that we're trying to reach that might not be as technologically, they have the access, et cetera. So we're looking at working with the many different partners that we already work with to get that kind of information out. Finally, I would say we've been partnering with MSBA, obviously, to provide the questions going to the civil legal aid community, and getting the concerns of the populations that they serve in terms of the court closings, and then also with the work with the Office of Legal Counsel and the governor's office. So we've been partnering with them and getting those perspectives and those questions as well. So I'll stop there. Thanks, Shaoli.
Thanks, Reena, for joining us. We also have Lisa Caplan, who is our new director. Congratulations, Lisa, to our Lawyer Assistance Program. And I'm going to turn it over to her to give some updates on health and wellness and what the MSBA has to offer to our members now.
Sure. Thanks, Shaoli. If anyone is experiencing any stress or anxiety, which is pretty normal under the circumstances, we have a wealth of information on our health and wellness page, which can be accessed from the main MSBA COVID page. And there are things on there that include yoga at home, workouts. There are links to programs that the ABA is doing, that other places are doing. There are some workshops on happiness. There's just a lot of information on there that you can connect with and is available for you. Also, I am doing a support group from 2 to 3 on Wednesdays. It's open to anyone. The information is on that page, and I believe it's also on the main page as well. You can drop in. It's a very informal discussion, and it's been good. We've had a small group of people, maybe about 6, 7, 8 people who have joined. So that's been really good. We also have a program coming up on Friday, April 17th. It's called Midday Reset. And it's a program to just help with the anxiety, stress of what is going on. And it should be a really good program. And also, don't forget about the Lawyer Assistance Program. We are not just a substance abuse program. We're here to help with any type of problems that somebody has. It's free, it's confidential, it's for lawyers and judges and law school students. We have a network of counselors that are around the state, so when we're able to move around again, you can be connected with someone who is in Southern Maryland, if that's where you are, and you don't have to come up to Baltimore to see me. We also have a fund that can help pay for mental health and substance abuse, whether that is weekly counseling or meeting with a psychiatrist or somebody needs inpatient treatment. That fund is available. And if you are ever concerned about an attorney, you can reach out to me completely anonymously and talk with me about what your concerns are. That will not get the person in trouble. You may actually end up saving somebody's life. But if you reach out to me, we will reach out and make sure that that person is safe, because we do have a network of lawyers and judges throughout the state who are available to help us, and they're mentors. And we've been around 40 years, so we're here to help if you need us. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Lisa. And I'd just like to give an update as Director of Member Experience and Programs, just to follow up on what all the directors have said. We have been very busy. We've heard from a lot of you. We want to hear from more of you. Because our role really is to help get answers for you, to advocate for you, as we've been doing with the judiciary and the governor's office. As Vic mentioned, we've sent 5 sets of questions to the judiciary. We've sent 2 to the governor's office, with a 3rd this week. But we want to make sure that we're approaching all the entities that you need for us to get answers from. So please reach out to us and let us know where else we can go, what else you need from us in that respect. And you can always reach us at feedback@msba.org. I also wanted to just state that in addition to the support that we're providing for anything that's COVID related, anything else that you need assistance with beyond COVID, we're still here for that. And that is still a big part of our role here. So please don't feel like you have to push any of those issues or concerns aside. We still want to help you for that. And as well, I'd like to mention that our website, a lot of the resources are on demand. Please spend time looking there and giving us any feedback about what else you'd like to see.
Shaoli, I'm going to jump in with a couple of things as well. Questions that I've seen before. What's happening with our annual meeting? Are we still having our annual meeting? So we last year had over 1,100 participants. It was one of the most successful. 3 years ago, we had 696. Then we had 900. Then we had 1,100. By the beginning of or end of February, beginning of March, we already were projecting 575 participants. Already 320 some odd had registered, over $100,000 in registrations. We were projecting to have an even bigger annual meeting this year than last. Unfortunately, because of this situation, it's unclear what that's going to look like. Now, surrounding states, DC is making their decision on their annual meeting on April 14th. No other organizations have made a determination as to whether they should cancel their June-ish timeframe annual meetings, except for Virginia. Virginia has canceled an event, and we believe that there were some contractual issues around that. So on or about April 21st, we're going to be conferring and understanding kind of what the registrations look like. We have reached out to all of the participants and those that are going to be presenting to determine if they would be available on an alternate date. So we were given by the Clarion a suggestion of the end of August. It was unclear to us whether that made any sense, but we're just chasing down the possibilities. And so my expectation is that at some point in April, we're going to come back and make a determination. But as of right now, we want people to be registering. We want people to attend. We've got high numbers, but as you all know, we've got a moratorium on in-person activities through May 17th, I believe. And so that's where we stand in terms of the annual meeting. We've had to, as a business, we've had to push all of our revenue producing activities into the next fiscal year. As you heard earlier, we're going to be providing all CLE on demand to free of charge to all attorneys in our state of Maryland and who are members beyond our borders. So this has a significant implication to us. We are participating in calls with various stakeholders. So that includes the managing partners of the largest firms in Maryland, and we participate in a weekly call with them to discuss the issues that they're considering. I think everything you would expect to hear regarding staffing, regarding cost containment, regarding summer hires and interns, and all of that are things that they're grappling with. And we have Chief Judge Berdar participates on those calls, as well as the deans of the law schools and various other players. So we continue our engagement in all sectors and segments of the profession. So Shaoli, I just wanted to throw that in there in case anybody was curious or interested. And
great, thank you, Vic. So you've heard a lot from us, and I know the sections have been very active in their chats and in their communications. And so the rest of this is really for us to hear from you and to talk through, first of all, kind of what your immediate experience has been. And then I think it would be helpful to walk through a few categories. And for people that aren't able to join us today, but who may be viewing this recording, I'd ask you to think through some of these and get back to us or get back to the section chair, and we can keep the dialogue going. So Sarah, do you want to start us off and just give us a little bit of background about your experience since the emergency started?
Yeah, sure. So my day job's with the Agriculture Law Education Initiative, a University of Maryland program. So we put out legal educational resources. We were sort of at the end of our in-person education cycle, which was a bit of a blessing. Since this all started, we have been trying to use our blog, which is the Maryland Risk Management Education blog, to push out information. So I did a recent blog post on the Paycheck Protection Program. My colleague, Paul Goringer, who's also a member of the section, did a really nice blog post that was just posted today about insurance-related issues. So we're just trying to keep up on that hamster wheel, just like everybody else.
Thanks. And Corinne, do you want to give us an update on what the experience has been like for you?
Yeah, sorry. So as I practice in intellectual property law, the biggest concern that, and I've had actually a fair amount of work related to COVID-19 treatments, apparatus, ventilator parts, all that sort of thing. So we've had a little uptick there. It's interesting because we have oil and gas clients that the bottom has fallen out. But meanwhile, Mason is crazy trying to make doors that are resistant to virus and bacteria contamination. So it's the, I think a lot of times, if there is an upside to this at some point, that there's been a lot of innovation in trying to figure out how to handle some of the issues that have come up as a result of it. We've also had a lot of issues with some of our clients that have lost business to figure out how to handle certain intellectual property matters, because a lot of these are statutory deadlines that, it's federal government, it's the 35 USC, it's the code. I mean, you can't just, blow the deadline. So, there are a lot of patent offices around the world. I mean, I just got an email this morning from Malaysia. They're scrambling because they're not allowed to leave they have a shutdown, and we sent them a priority document that's due April 15th. The shutdown won't be lifted until April 14th, and they're trying to figure out how to get the documents in on time. So, there's these types of challenges. For the most part, I can't imagine that if any deadline was missed or anything wasn't done as it should be during this crisis, that, there wouldn't be procedures or something that we could do to, to alleviate that or to get a special exception for it. And that's Mason, by the way, in the background. But yeah, he's back there. He'll come online later. But so we are offering a lot of free advice to help folks just figure out how to maintain intellectual property, so that things don't fall through the cracks if they have a response due. If that's a $2,000 or $3,000 action, well, maybe we can just file a continuation and kick it down the road until business picks up or stuff like that. So we've done a lot of mitigation, I suppose. And separately, on the I'm on the executive committee of the Maryland Horse Council and also active in the Maryland Farm Bureau. And I'm sure Sarah and Paul and all of us have been getting a ton of questions about what they can do, what they can't do, why there's exceptions for ag. So, I've been super busy just, learning more about a lot of that sort of thing that doesn't directly affect my practice, but just trying to help people in general. I'm certainly not going to sit here. If you're bored, if anybody's bored, they should be out there doing something out there, whether it's on the computer or otherwise, but trying to help others that just don't have the resources or the knowledge. I'm just surprised sometimes that, folks are, I'm suffering. I'm not earning any pay, so I certainly can't give away free time. I'm like, well, if you're not busy, you can give away free time, in my opinion. So I'm hoping that more folks will step up to the plate and help those that need it. There's a Terp Entrepreneur Network. I'm on that, giving free legal advice on that network. So, this is for our, residents of the state of Maryland, that to try to help whoever we can.
Yeah, can I, in addition to all the great work you're doing, giving away advice when you have downtime, if there is messaging or if there's expertise that we could be putting out there and helping to amplify not just the free aspect of what you've been doing, but your actual practice at this time, if there's an angle where we could be communicating, and Sarah, to the extent that we could be providing information of what your program is doing in our vehicles, please consider that and share that with us, whether it's here through your liaison or at feedback@msba.org. I think that's an opportunity for us to, especially if there's expertise that is more niche. I think that would be something that we would certainly consider doing.
Thanks, Vic, and thanks, Corinne.
Sure.
One of the things I just wanted to ask, and I think would be helpful for some of the members that may then be viewing this, is what the section and the listserv communications have been. So, Sarah, I'm wondering if you can give a little bit of an update about what some of those, what some of the top few concerns have been and what the members have been discussing.
Specifically related to COVID-19?
Yes, since COVID, but really anything that they've had as an issue or what they've wanted to discuss over the last few weeks.
Yeah, I think it's what Corinne said. Folks are still trying to figure out exactly where they fit. We heard fairly early on that agriculture was essential, but as we all know, agriculture is a very diverse field, and we have many different forms of agriculture in Maryland. And so, how does a cut flower operation fit into an essential business? Can they still deliver flowers door to door? Those are the types of questions that we've gotten and that our folks have had to deal with. A lot of interest with the equine industry, because we've got a lot of different types of equine operations and how those all fit. So I think that's the vast majority of what we've received so far. And I'm sure at the end of this week, when we get more information about the ag specific COVID relief financial programs, it will probably, that will probably take up quite a bit of time.
Great, thank you. I've also seen discussions as well about people that are now remote when they've never had to do that, trying to figure out those technologies and resources and staying connected. And so again, I just turned to our webinars that we have and resources on our page for anyone who, in the shuffle of moving and getting into this remote technology. If you just need some more resources and information, please let us know. Please check out our website, and we're happy to have that available to you.
I will point out that I don't know that I see anyone drinking coffee in this coffee chat but myself. There it is.
Maybe we could all get our mugs out. Yeah.
There you go. All right.
Great.
And so I was also going to say real quick, and I don't know, Sarah can probably fill in. I think also because this is an agricultural law section, I do know that I have spoken to a few practitioners that don't have really good internet because they are remote in the state. I see Sarah nodding. I don't know how to reach those folks. I'm not sure how to make that happen. But all the resources require 90% of them require an internet connection. And I don't know if we have any thoughts or ideas on how to, short of going to Western Maryland, which, would be a no-no.
We do
I
have
wish I
the
had it.
ability. We do have the ability to. We've never triggered this. We've never utilized it, but we have the ability to text information to folks. It's not something that we've ever wanted to go down the path of, but I wonder if that's of interest to get to those folks, to text them, but that does require them to have cell service and to be able to use their smartphone to be able to pull that stuff up. I don't know. That's one thought. It's not an easy problem to solve if they're not as connected.
No, that's a tool that I know that soil conservation districts are using right now to communicate issues such as dealing with our annual cover crop program, where folks have to get certified right now. Most farmers in the state participate in that. So I do see other organizations using that text function right now.
Okay, we'll take it back, and Shaoli, let's talk to because we have both Blue Ocean and another provider that has already pitched us the ability to do that, and we just never took him up on it. So we can chat about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I'm surprised sometimes in talking to some folks, because usually they can at least call that they think that they don't qualify as attorneys for certain programs, and I'm like, well, that's not true, and I'm an IP attorney, but we applied for the payroll protection, so just because you're self-employed doesn't mean you're not. So there's a little bit of difficulty in pushing that out to someone who's more of an ag attorney who may not be a tax expert or understand some of these other resources or may not have access to them. And because it's been a really tough time. So I if we could do that, that might be a good way to make an effort to reach those people.
Yeah, we would obviously want to be very judicious. I find that to be intrusive. So that's my personal bias is not using that feature, but this is the kind of time where, as long as it's not fluff and it is helpful, I think that makes sense. By the way, 3/4 of the largest firms in Maryland, law firms, are going to be taking advantage of the program. And to your point, Corinne, I mean, it is really beneficial for everyone, just about. The MSBA actually contemplated using it, but we're a C6, so we were specifically excluded from the list of organizations. So we're looking at an idle program as opposed to the Triple P.
So can I jump in there?
Yeah.
I can put you in contact with Andrew Griffin of the Maryland Chamber of Commerce, because we have found that loophole for C6s and C5s, and they're actually working on a letter to I'm not sure exactly if it's who the relevant people are on that committee at the federal level. So I'm happy to put you in contact with him, because the Maryland Horse Council and the Maryland Farm Bureau has signed on to make sure we can get coverage for that.
So first of all, what I love about these calls, and I know we don't have a ton of folks on this one in particular, what I love about these calls are everyone has a connection, everyone is willing to assist, and that kind of information sharing is awesome. And I've been seeing it in every single call that I've been on. I should say video meeting that I've been on. In this instance, we have already signed on to that letter,
Okay.
and
Yes,
we've already signed on to the ASAE, American Society of Association Executives, letter, which has 3,000 organizations that have signed on to that, and they've reached the folks that in Congress they needed to reach, and they've had some preliminary discussions with them. We're going to be reaching out to our own delegation, Senator Van Hollen, Senator Cardin, et cetera, and to just emphasize the point of what the Maryland Chamber is doing. So we're tucking under the Chamber, trying to let them, they lead, because it is across multiple industries, and then we're going to come back around and reinforce. And we've got calls scheduled in about 2 weeks with them to talk about that. So thank you for that.
Yeah, and then the other thing this may not be appropriate time now, but that I would add is that since at least I am, and maybe Sarah is, we're getting requests from the public with respect to certain information. I don't know that we right now. Most of the webinars that I've seen are more geared towards attorneys' education. Is that? I know that that's not necessarily the MSBA's job per se, but is that something that might be considered, or maybe that's beyond?
Our strategic plan envisions that we're going to begin communicating to the public, but for different reasons. So I'm going to answer your question in a bit of a roundabout way. We believe that it's going to be important for us to begin to market the value of an attorney, the value of local attorneys. So that's one slice. Secondly, We are going to be putting out some certifications at some point. I'm not quite sure of the timeline right now, and we're going to need to promote the value of those certifications, not related to ag law, but in other segments. And so we need to communicate and convey to the public what that certification means if an attorney has that certification. And third, you heard from Reena Shah, Executive Director of the Access to Justice Commission, and we want to communicate the good that our organization does generally. So we are going to, at some point, shift to communicating to the public. We don't really do that today. We are internally looking at our marketing capability, our technology, and likely we're going to be making some changes to that by the end of this calendar year. COVID may impact that timing a bit. So that's a long-winded way of saying we are not presently equipped to communicate to the public, but that it is in our roadmap to get to the point where we begin to communicate to the public for those three reasons primarily. And then that would be an opportunity. So.
Thank you.
Thanks. I'd like to turn it now to Doris Barnes, who is the section liaison for this agriculture section. Doris, can you give us an update on the section and what your work has been like?
Sure, Shaoli. Thank you. Currently, we don't have any programs on the schedule, obviously. We are, though, it puts us in a good position to be working on the directory. So this section previously in 2015 and 16 created a legal resources directory. As Corinne mentioned, there are so many folks that need the legal resources who do not have the ability to connect to the internet, whether it's a lack of knowledge, lack of equipment, or which I experience is a lack of internet service. So it's quite frustrating. And so they previously put this directory into the hands of the farmers. And by distributing it to whether it's to clients or whether it's through government agencies. So that is on track right now. We're developing one for to be published next year. And currently it will only be for section members. So we have 149 section members right now. We have 45 members of the MSBA who previously belonged to this section, but no longer do. So we will be reaching out to them to let them know that we'll be republishing this. And if they want to be included in the directory, that they need to renew their section membership. Currently, the target date for publication is September 1. And so we're working with our design team right now to get that ready to be laid out. The section council will be making efforts over the next few weeks to bring in sponsorships and advertising for services related to farms, whether it's a feed store or equine services, or other, realtors who really designate farm industry as their clientele. And from what Sarah and Corinne tell me, this is sort of the Bible then that the lawyers live with. I mean, the farmers live with, that it gives them the information right at their fingertips so they don't have to get onto the internet to look someone up. We'll be able to offer the attorney section members the ability to list the jurisdictions in which they practice. So again, the target audience can look up by jurisdiction, see a list of the attorneys who practice in their area, and then call on them directly. So it's a very, very valuable resource. We'll be printing 5,000 of these. We expect it to have a life expectancy of 2 years, and then we'll be revisiting it to update then. Sarah, I don't know if you or Corinne would like to speak any further to that or to any other activities of the section.
Yeah, I would just say the directory has been a really powerful tool for our section. When I travel the state and talk to farmers about these issues, we don't do direct representation at the Ag Law Education Initiative. We have to stop where direct representation starts. So the directory has been a really important tool, and all of the extension offices across the state use it. And farmers are they're surprised, they're pleasantly surprised really, that there's attorneys who want farmers as clients, that some of them came from farm backgrounds, some of them may have a spouse that farms. So they know that their legal issues are unique in a lot of cases, and it's They really like it that they don't have to start at square one with explaining the intricacies of their profession in addition to whatever their legal issue might be. Doris has been a huge help with that. So that's one of our big things that we're working on right now. We also have 2 sessions at the annual meeting. One on hemp, which is a very hot topic right now, the legalities surrounding growing and processing hemp. And then we have one on Chapter 12 bankruptcy. So if we're able to have our annual meeting, we're going to have 2, I think, very popular topics at that as well.
One of the concepts that we might have, if the annual meeting does not proceed, I got to give credit to Anna Shaoli, our Deputy Executive Director, suggested perhaps serializing and still producing these and doing a packaging and then having essentially webinar equivalents of all of the programming we're going to do or some of it in the annual meeting. So just keep that in mind that if the meeting does not happen, there's still going to be an interest in us producing the actual content and then distributing it. And you could argue perhaps that'll get to even more people than would have seen it in the annual meeting.
I think that would be great. Webinars or even like a podcast type format.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to say for the webinars that we do have on demand, we've also converted those into podcast format. So when we're offering these on our website, people have a variety of options in terms of engaging with the content. So I think that, does anyone else have anything that they wanted to share on this call? Otherwise, I think, like Vic said, we have this recorded. We'll send this out to the membership and to the section membership, and we'll continue these. Please let us know how we can make this most engaging and helpful to you. But we do really want to create and sustain the sense of community while people are practicing and living remotely.
The only thing I would add is it would be helpful is if in our next e-weekly, whatever one makes sense, that we get Sarah and Corinne's picture and in reference to they participated in this coffee chat. Since they were the 2 that showed up for the section, we want to promote their organizations and practices. My comment at the very beginning about amplifying was not for pro bono work, was amplifying the work that they do. So anything we could do to be helpful for your respective missions, I'd like to do that.
Absolutely.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you, everyone. And thanks to all the MSBA team members that are also on this call for supporting the mission. Thank you all.
Thanks.
Have a good morning.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay.